Ladies and gents, welcome back. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney in the news again, calling for an end to restrictions on travel. This from CTV News Edmonton. Alberta calls for an end to pointless federal travel restrictions. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says a motion will be presented to the legislature to call on Ottawa to end pointless travel measures. In a 6-minute video he posted on Twitter Sunday afternoon, Kenney said pre-departure testing requirements and poke mandates have served their purpose. Sorry, I have to say certain words and not other words. The jurisdiction learned to live with the disease. Kenney added that the measures now hurt the economy and add little to measurable public health benefit. It's time for Justin Trudeau to stop the pointless federal travel restrictions, the premier said. We can't allow the division, the obstacles, and the barriers to entry, or barriers of constantly changing health policy to hold our society back indefinitely. We'll have to hear what he had to say here.
It's time for Justin Trudeau to stop the pointless federal COVID travel restrictions. Of course, Alberta has already dropped almost all of our public health restrictions, and we've done so safely. We did it as part of our prudent plan to reopen Alberta's path to normal. And I want to be clear, this is based on data, on the information we've learned about COVID over the past 2 years. We've seen data in Alberta and from around the world that points to the same thing, that the worst of COVID is behind us and we can focus on getting our lives back to normal. Yes, we'll do so safely, and we'll monitor the impact of lingering COVID-19 and undoubtedly future waves, but we have to move forward together because we have new tools on our side, new treatments and new ways of caring for those who are infected, and we have the life-saving power of vaccines. But we can't allow the division, the obstacles, and the barriers of constantly changing health policy to hold our society back indefinitely, because it's no longer public health policy to do that. For example, Dr. Peter Juni, director of Ontario's COVID Science Table, points to recent data which suggests that 2 doses of the vaccine, while still very helpful in preventing severe illness, are less effective at preventing transmission of the Omicron variant. Now, this means that the current system of so-called vaccine passports, like for traveling on an airplane, which is based on 2 doses, is now much less effective against reducing viral spread.
So he goes on to give a lot of different examples. Again, I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can look at it yourself. He refers to a bunch of clinicians. Just worried about putting that information here on the channel. So again, link in the description. I don't believe you need an account at Twitter to view Twitter. But moving forward, we're looking at countries that have removed all internal COVID restrictions. A list, and this is as of, sorry, I'm just watching the words that I say. February 24th, 2022, we have the United Kingdom has lifted their restrictions. Ireland, and there's a list of all the restrictions that they've lifted. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Tanzania, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. I mean, the list keeps going. Iceland. If we look here, countries without any travel restrictions or entry requirements. Now, that's a little bit of a different category. So no tests before arrival, no tests upon arrival, no countries banned due to the bad stuff. No quarantine periods, no vaccine, no things required. Gotta be careful. Mexico, El Salvador, Norway, Slovenia, Iceland, Bahrain, Jordan, Iceland, Cambodia, Costa Rica, and Switzerland notes. Cambodia and Costa Rica were 2 countries that were featured in this article throughout the pandemic. Wow. Recently removed countries. The list goes on and on. For American travelers, here's a list. This didn't take very long. Just a quick search on Google or Bing. Countries open to American tourists in 2022. We have a huge list. India, South Africa, Cayman Islands, Indonesia, Cambodia, Russia. I think that might be different now. I'm not sure. Thailand, Chile, Argentina. The list is huge. It's a big list. I don't see Canada on that list, though. Very, very sad. Jason Kenney continues at the end after he's given a bunch of data points from clinicians.
That's why I'm calling on the federal government to lift travel restrictions that no longer have any measurable public health benefit for Albertans or for Canadians. And that's why our government will present a motion in Alberta's legislature to call on the federal government to drop pointless COVID travel restrictions that no longer make any sense, that are no longer defensible from a public health point of view. For example, I'm not aware of any jurisdiction in the world, apart from Canada, that has a requirement to be fully vaccinated to board a plane. And the pre-departure testing requirement is now, as I've said, of very questionable value. It's just another way of holding back the hundreds of thousands of people who work in our travel and tourism industry with no measurable public health gain. Ending federal travel barriers is also a view shared by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, whose president, Perrin Beatty, has said that, quotes, blanket warnings about travel at this point are unjustified. Across Canada and around the world, jurisdictions are learning to live with COVID-19 and lifting unnecessary barriers that harm both individuals and our economy.
So that was Jason Kenney. Another point probably to make is that Brian Peckford, one of the last surviving members of Parliament who signed the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, is currently suing the government over travel restrictions. So that is something to note there. Anyway, that's all I have for you this morning. Keep on trucking.